Namitakiapi, Layampe Tuwashte. Welcome to the ICT Newscast. I'm Shirley Snavy. A family in North Carolina made history during the Civil Rights Movement, taking a stand against injustice. I spoke with Justin Lockamy about his family's role in ending segregation for the Coharie tribe. The 1954 court decision, Brown versus Board of Education, ended segregation of schools. Southern states held out for years. While the decision focused on Black students, Native American students were also impacted. One case was in the news this summer, as a North Carolina historical marker was erected to remember a student sit-in at Dunn High School, home of the Coharie tribe. Justin Lockamy is proud of the role his relatives had in the event.
My great-grandfather, who I had the privilege of knowing for the first 10 years of my life, he didn't tolerate much injustice from people for very long. So he and his brother this was shortly after Brown versus Board of Education in 1954, which ordered desegregation of schools. Starting in maybe 2 years later, there was a consistent push from my great-grandfather, his brother, and some of the family who were located in Harnett County to push that school system to actually let their students in to first it was provide us with a teacher and some facilities so we can actually support high school education. That way our kids don't have to be bused all the way into the neighboring county. Those requests were repeatedly denied. 1960 rolls around, and the frustration for my great-grandfather and his brother was pretty great. And the family story goes, on New Year's Eve, as the clock turned into 1960, my great-grandfather Eugene Chance and his brother James, they actually put some sticks of dynamite and blew up the bus. And that's what happened. They got into some good trouble, created some property damage. They were hauled to court, but because of the lack of evidence against them specifically, they were ultimately not charged. But pretty much everyone knew, wink, wink, nod, nod, what had happened. This was January 1960. And just to put this in context, in the North Carolina Civil Rights Movement, I think the Greensboro sit-ins of the 4 African-American kids who sat in at the diner there, that was a month later.
In spite of this lack of transportation to school, white officials did not give in. Justin's great-aunt Juanita Chase Caldwell said in an interview with the North Carolina Indian Heritage Commission, Coharie families took it to court, but civil disobedience continued.
Dad said that we couldn't give up, that we had to make sure that we went to that school, some way, somehow. So there was a protest. The morning that we all arrived up there, I have never seen so many policemen in all my life. But it was days that we were there, like maybe a week with everybody. And then there was just Jean, my cousin, and myself. And Huey Paul went, I think, a couple of days. He wasn't there very long. I never saw him, heard of him going in a classroom or anything. But Jean and I went into a classroom and actually sit down. They ignored us. The teachers they weren't rude, but we weren't there. The kids were so quiet because they weren't really sure what was going to happen.
As part of the effort, once this blew up in town, is that my aunt Juanita her and her cousin had written Eleanor Roosevelt a letter, because at that time Eleanor Roosevelt had a column in the New York Times, and she actually wrote about it in her column in the New York Times and brought some national attention to bear and some more resources. So for about 2-3 years there was this protracted litigation as they tried to get Harnett County to do more and more.
If I write her, maybe she'll help us. Didn't think she would, but I thought maybe she would. And sure enough, wrote that letter, sent it off. I think I wrote it in with a pencil, and signed our name to it, Jean and my name to it, and sure enough, she answered.
They finally admitted high school students there to Dunn schools, and this was before African Americans were even allowed to go to Harnett County schools. So the Indians were the first through the door, which is amazing.
For ICT, I'm Shirley Snavy. Kathryn Treder, an Alaska Native athlete, turned her love of wrestling into rugby. Now she's competing in her second World Cup. Jordan Bennett Begay has this profile.
The thing that attracted me so much to rugby was the team aspect of it. You need all 15 people on the field in order to be successful.
Rugby is gaining popularity, and I got to see it in action earlier this summer in Washington, D.C. Kathryn Treder is making her second appearance in the World Cup tournament.
I'm really thrilled. It'll be my second World Cup, and I think the first time around I left a little bit disappointed. But yeah, I'm really excited to have another opportunity to play another World Cup. I think I have a lot more confidence. In the years since the last cycle, I've gotten to play a lot more. I've played abroad in England. I have a lot more experience. I feel older, I feel wiser, and I think I'll come in with a lot more confidence than I did last time, so I'm really grateful for that.
Kathryn's career started in Alaska with a love of all sports.
When I was in high school, I was a wrestler and ran track, and sport was always really important to me. It kept me out of a lot of trouble, and yeah, I've always had a really great competitive spirit. When I went to college, I was looking for a sport to compete in, and I found out that you could walk on to the rugby team. So I tried it out, and I think I was pretty immediately hooked. The community was really wonderful, and I really fell in love with it. I dealt with some injury post-college, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue, but I was scouted and called up for an all-star match for my club season right out of college. I played in that all-star match. I was scouted by USA Rugby for the national team, and then later in 2019 I got my first cap. I think my culture has really suited me to play team sports and be a team player. I think yeah, and I think it's made me really tough. To be an Alaska Native, I think you need to be really tough, and when times are hard, I always have that to rely on and lean on and give me strength and hope, and so that's always been really helpful. And I think it really grounds me. To be honest, I don't I feel like playing for the United States isn't something that necessarily excites me, but I think playing for my people and playing for my family, that is what really excites me, is getting to represent them.
For ICT from Anacostia and Piscataway homelands, I'm Jordan Bennett Begay.
PBS chef Pati Jinich is exploring Indigenous fashion from Calgary to Paris. She's connecting food, culture, and style.
The city of Calgary in Alberta, Canada, was built on ancestral lands where the Bow and Elbow rivers have long been a gathering place for Indigenous nations. Today, it's a gathering place for a modern movement, Indigenous fashion.
So can you repeat all of the steps super quick before we start?
So watch your posture, check your posture, shoulders back and down, chin up, ears in line with your shoulder in line with your hip in line with your knee in line with your ankle. And then you're going to, from stance position, which is a 45, your base foot is at a 45-degree angle, your lead foot is pointing straight ahead, and you're going to start with your lead foot at all times.
This one.
And you're going to walk toe to heel.
Okay.
Ready? And 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh, I'm horrible at these. I can't do toe to heel.
And make sure you're always at 90 because you got photographers coming at
I'm
you.
like crashing into you, crashing into you. Ready for Paris, here we come.
Chelsea Rachette kicked it off in 2012 when she founded Indigenous Fashion Week.
You guys, I'm so excited to be here talking with you and with this view. So you brought me these, which is so incredible. You were just at the fashion fair in Paris, and I was just reading at your statement, And it says, Indigenous fashion is a form of art and self-expression. It's about telling stories about our ancestors, passing thousands of years of traditions on. We're taking on up spaces where we were not allowed 50 plus years ago. That just made me shiver. Tell me about this movement.
It's it's a movement about showing people that we're here, we're people, we're human beings. We're not this Hollywood stereotypical native person, right? We're breaking barriers, breaking boundaries, and stepping into the mainstream fashion industry.
It's also about creating equal opportunities, both economically and in the fashion industry, where previously we weren't allowed.
So you're a model.
I was, yes.
You were a model.
I started off modeling, yes.
You started off modeling, and then you created a model agency?
Yes, we had a modeling agency.
Tell me about
the
concept.
So started off modeling, I was in shows all across Canada and the States, and I found that we weren't being represented to the full extent that we should have been, right? So I started a modeling agency, and then I started doing fashion shows, and all the network that I created, I just utilized it and put it together and put one big show on, and that was 2012 was our first Indigenous Fashion Week.
I've been a fashion model since 1972, and when I initially started modeling, they never referred to me by my name. I was known as the Indian, which was derogatory in many ways, but I'm glad that I stuck with it despite that, because now we're able to open doors for so many more Indigenous peoples moving forward, whether they be fashion designers, models, makeup artists, hairstylists, photographers, everybody. We want to bring them all with us.
So you were placed in a box, and now you're taking that box out into the world and the mainstream and taking up space where you belong.
Yes.
And what have been, do you feel, the biggest obstacles?
Opportunity and access. Those were the biggest obstacles that I found in terms of being able to start my company. And then when I met Chelsea, and then she introduced me to Tyson, so we all started working together and pooling our resources and our skills. And I think that that's what's been able to allow us to move forward and to bring so many others with us.
So it is, I am not the Indigenous model, I'm a model, but I'm bringing everything I have to that space.
Oh yeah.
We now have access to more designers and models than ever before. And when they come to us and they learn from Tyson and they learn from Chelsea and they learn from me, they learn that it's okay to be Indigenous now. You don't have to be ashamed or afraid of it anymore. Growing up, I was not allowed to say that I was Indigenous. The one and only time in my life my grandmother hit me was because I went to learn how to powwow dance.
You had to hide.
We had to hide. Yeah. And we don't have to anymore.
I'll do a warrior call here.
Yes.
I guess. Right. So.
See.
It's loud.
That's
Loud, yeah.
That's so powerful.
We also do smudging. Like Tyson will facilitate a fudge, not a fudge.
Smudge. You're welcome.
Before
What's
all of our
smudging?
show. It's a way for
To cleanse?
us to cleanse and to ground ourselves before we go out there and present clothing to people who are non-Indigenous.
We stink to spirit because all that lotions and the perfumes and stuff we put on.
Yeah.
What smudging does is it allows our ancestors and our guides and angels to come sit with us because we stink to them, you know? So they're like, okay, well, now they smell like plants and herbs, so we'll come sit and talk to them.
You guys share so much, and when you come to BC or to Mexico, if I'm there, I will share so much too.
Oh,
So
that'll be fabulous.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
Let's set up a fashion show.
yet.
exactly.
We'll have a fashion show. Let's do it.
Yes.
And you're gonna model for us.
Yes.
I don't know if I'm a good model, but I can pretend.
I'll
That's
teach you a
exactly
shirt.
right.
I can pretend to know
So
how to walk.
I'm still doing that. Yeah.
I still get criticized for walking like a dog.
Okay.
So maybe you can teach me.
That's okay. That could be your signature walk.
Yeah.
That's right.
Embrace it.
Embrace it.
In the Northwest, the Coquille Indian tribe is using traditional indigenous knowledge and science to restore salmon. Their work brought fish back years ahead of schedule. Stuart Huntington and underscore reporter Lyric Aquino have more.
I'm joined here now with Lyric Aquino. She's an Indigenous Affairs reporter with Underscore News and a Report for America core member. Welcome, Lyric.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Lyric, you were just down on the Oregon coast with the Coquille tribe with a really interesting story.
So, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife monitored the Chinook salmon for several years, and prior to 2018, the numbers were in the 11,000s range. However, later that year, the salmon population dwindled to 900, and then after that, it fell steadily. So there was actually a 4-year fishing ban for the tribe and surrounding community members, which was detrimental because, in Southern Oregon, they rely on natural resources for income. So, in a partnership with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Coquille tribe stepped in and said that they were stewards of the land and that they wanted to use traditional ecological knowledge to bring back the salmon. They were able to bring the salmon population back so high that they're able to fish this September. This is so exciting because they were originally estimated to not even be able to fish for around 10 years, and they did it in less than half the time.
What are they attributing this incredible speed of the recovery to?
So, all of this is attributed to traditional ecological knowledge. The tribe designed fishing mechanisms to catch fish so that way that they were able to spawn them. So, originally, within the first year, the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife said that they needed to collect 75 pairs. But with the way that they were fishing, they were only able to collect 3. So the next year, the tribe was able to help a little bit, and they caught 25 pairs in their partnership as opposed to 3. Then, in the background, the tribe had been working on different traps to collect more fish. So that way they could collect them, spawn them, and then they could turn into broodstock and become sexually reproductive fish. The year that their traps were implemented, they collected over 100 pairs of fish. And then the following year, they collected 250 pairs. So then they took all of those salmon and then they harvested every egg, fertilized every egg, and made sure that they were going to hatch. And so they actually incorporated work from local community members who had their own little hatcheries, creating a safe space for some of these fish. It was kind of an issue with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife because they had only gotten permission to hold the 75 fish and take the eggs and fertilize the eggs from those 75 fish. But the tribe said that they didn't want to waste any of these natural resources and that, if the government wasn't going to do what was necessary, they were going to do it themselves. And so they did. And they partnered with local members of the community who were really excited to have these really low tech, um, little incubator esque contraptions that were made out of wood and PVC pipe, and the eggs were in there. And then when they hatched, they kind of went straight through and then down into the river. And then they were able to make their way out, and then they're eventually going to return and be fished.
That's fantastic. Lyric, thank you so much for the update.
The Lipay Nation of San Ysabel is celebrating a land return. It's more than 1,000 acres of ancestral territory in Southern California. Funding came from the California Department of Natural Resources. It has a $1 million tribal nation-based solutions program. The August return of ancestral lands in the San Felipe Valley supports indigenous-led conservation practices. The land is directly adjacent to the tribe's existing reservation. The tribe has plans for a traditional ecological knowledge center so the public can learn from and engage in traditional stewardship practices.
For EPI Nation of San Ysabel, these particular 1,107 acres are so critical to Kumeyaay culture, lifeways, and well-being. This particular project is going to have a conservation focus with repairing and restoring the land And it's also going to be restored for its cultural components as well. And so ensuring that Kumeyaay people have access to their lands, sacred sites, their tribal cultural resources.
A national nonprofit in South Dakota is making sweeping changes. I caught up with Amelia Schaefer to talk about NDN Collective's future. One of the country's largest Indigenous organizations announced sweeping changes to its work. Amelia Schaefer spoke to NDN Collective leaders about it. Welcome, Amelia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
NDN Collective has amassed quite a bit of funds and projects all over the country in its 7 years of existence. What's going on?
You know, like a lot of other nonprofits across Indian country, Indian Collective is struggling. They've lost core funding, they've lost a lot of grants. This is something, like I said, that we're seeing across the United States, and they were not spared from it. They've had to cut down their staff by about 40% by laying off about 40 members of the team. And they were already a small team to begin with. They had just under 100 on their staff at the beginning of this year. So these have been really tough changes for them, but earlier, I spoke with Gabby Strong, Wheezy Pond Little Elgaria, and Nick Tilson from Indian Collective. These are three of the core leaders of the organization, and they assured me that despite these changes, Indian Collective is going nowhere and will continue to help the community. These were just changes that they had to make to continue to function. And one of the things that they're doing differently is they're going to put a lot more focus on Rapid City, South Dakota, where the organization is based and started, and that doesn't mean that they won't be servicing the rest of Indian country. It just means there is going to be more of a local focus, as well as that national focus that we've seen in the past, like with things like their Collective Abundance Fund. These things aren't going away. They just are going to look a little different this year.
What's interesting about this, and I can't help but to think about Illuminative and the fact that they pretty much shuttered their doors, is that it's a trend across the country. And even though we don't put DEI, Native Americans, in that classification, because this is treaty rights and responsibilities, I'm wondering if funders are afraid.
Yeah, I think that would be a correct statement. Funders are scared. Funders themselves may have been hit. They may not want to fund things seen as DEI. And like you said, Native American rights and Native American organizations are not DEI, but this isn't something that the administration has necessarily recognized. Native tribes even have seen cuts, tribal radios have seen cuts. These are sweeping major cuts across all of Indian country, and I don't know of an organization that has been spared.
And it's going to have that ripple effect with this shrinking of this important organization. And they have done important work across the country in Native American rights, as you were saying, and also in encouraging those individual values that tribes hold dear. And land back is, one of the things that comes to mind.
Exactly. That was something they said that in the future they're really going to focus on. I previously have reported on a bill that some members of Indian Collective were working on with other members of the Native community, but that would be to regain public lands within the Black Hills or Ysabel, which is very sacred to the Coquille, which many of the core members of Indian Collective are from. So that's one of the main points that they want to focus on going forward now that Leonard Peltier has been granted clemency and is able to live at home in Turtle Mountain. Another major point that they want to focus on going forward that they told me about is buffalo restoration. They are planning to open a major buffalo range somewhere in the United States. They didn't have a lot of information about that right now, but that is an upcoming project that they want to work on. And then another topic is here in Rapid City, they are working on a big community center, not just a community center, but affordable housing. This will be connected to the Oceti Community Academy, which is for youth ages, I believe, kindergarten through fifth is the plan. And that will all be in the same block, which will be on the north side of Rapid City. And that's to expand things like affordable housing, education, cultural elements, and cultural programming to the Native community here. Rapid City does have a significant Native population, and that is something that Indian Collective wants to support.
And when you look at where Nick Tilson started on the Pine Ridge Reservation in Kyle, South Dakota, with Thunder Valley, that organization, which is still going strong, and in a way, it's kind of going full circle to come back and focus on the Black Hills, or the Haisapa, as we say in our language.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see this development move into Rapid City, and it's desperately needed here. I mean, the north side of Rapid City, which is where a majority of the native population resides, is a food desert. One of the only grocery stores previously there is Walmart, but recently Indian Collective helped Sacred Storm to open a retail location off of Haynes Avenue, which is a major road here in Rapid City, and that provides things like fresh buffalo to the community, products made from buffalo like hand soap and other products that are really culturally relevant, and just helping to expand food sovereignty, helping to eliminate that food desert that we struggle with here in Rapid. And then, like you said, affordable housing, these are all things that we really need, especially right now in the community. I mean, rent is high, and like we're seeing, organizations aren't able to disperse as much money. So these are desperately needed.
Well, thank you for joining me, Amelia, and enjoy your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.